You feel anxious even when nothing is wrong. There's no danger, no threat, no clear reason. And yet your body reacts like something bad is about to happen. Your chest tightens, your thoughts speed up, and no matter what you do, you can't fully relax. So you start asking yourself, why do I feel like this? And eventually you land on the worst possible answer. Something must be wrong with me. But there isn't. Because anxiety isn't random, and it isn't a flaw in who you are. It's something your brain is doing, and once you understand what that is, everything starts to make a lot more sense. Part 1. The misinterpretation. Most people think anxiety is something that just happens to them, like it appears out of nowhere for no reason. But that's not actually what's going on. Anxiety isn't random, and it isn't a flaw in who you are. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Your brain's primary job is to keep you safe, not to make you calm, not to make you happy, but to protect you from anything it thinks could be a threat. And the way it does that is by constantly scanning your environment, your thoughts, and even your body for anything that feels unfamiliar, uncertain, or slightly off. Because to your brain, uncertainty doesn't feel neutral, it feels like risk, and risk is something it tries to eliminate as quickly as possible. So instead of waiting to see if something actually goes wrong, your brain tries to get ahead of it. It predicts, it analyzes, it prepares. It runs through scenarios that haven't happened. It questions outcomes that don't exist yet. It creates possibilities just to make sure you're ready for them. And this process is automatic. You don't choose it. You don't control when it starts. It just happens in the background. The problem is, your brain isn't designed to tell the difference between something that might happen and something that is happening. It reacts to both in a similar way. So, when it imagines a situation, your body can respond as if it's real. Your heart rate changes, your breathing shifts, your muscles tense slightly, your focus narrows. And now, it feels real. Even though nothing has actually happened, your body is already in a state of alert. And when you feel that, you naturally assume something must be wrong, because your body wouldn't react like that for no reason. But there is a reason. It's just not the one you think. Your brain isn't reacting to danger, it's reacting to uncertainty. And over time, the more it does this, the more it starts to associate normal situations with that same feeling. Conversations, decisions, the future, even your own thoughts begin to carry a sense of pressure. Not because they're dangerous, but because your brain has learned to treat them like they are. And once that association is built, it doesn't need a real problem anymore. It can create the feeling on its own. Part 2. The escalation. Once your brain signals that something might be wrong, your attention shifts immediately. You start focusing on the feeling, the thoughts, the slight changes in your body, trying to figure out what's happening and why. And the more attention you give it, the more intense it becomes. Because attention tells your brain that something is important. And if something is important, it must be worth reacting to. So your brain increases the signal, your thoughts speed up, your awareness sharpens, your body becomes more alert. And now, what started as something small begins to grow. You start analyzing it, questioning it, trying to understand it, trying to control it. You ask yourself, what if something is wrong? What if this gets worse? What if I can't stop it? And those questions don't calm your mind, they amplify it. Because every question adds another layer of uncertainty. And uncertainty is exactly what your brain is trying to solve. So it keeps going, searching for answers, running through possibilities, trying to find certainty where there isn't any. And while this is happening, your body continues to respond. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing becomes more noticeable. Your muscles stay tense. And now you're not just feeling anxious, you're aware that you're feeling anxious. And that awareness makes it stronger, because now you're reacting to the feeling itself, not just the original thought. So the cycle builds. The more you notice it, the stronger it feels. The stronger it feels, the more you focus on it. And the more you focus on it, the more your brain believes something is wrong, until eventually it doesn't feel like something that started. It just feels like something you're stuck in. Part 3. The reinforcement. At this point, it no longer feels like something your brain is doing, it feels like something is happening to you. Because the feeling is so real, so immediate, so physical, that you start trying to get rid of it as quickly as possible. You try to calm yourself down, control your breathing, distract your mind, push the thoughts away, do anything that might make the feeling stop. And in the moment, that makes sense. You feel uncomfortable, so you try to escape it. But this is where the reinforcement begins. Because the moment you treat the feeling like something that needs to be fixed, your brain learns something important. It learns that this feeling is a problem, and if it's a problem, it must be dangerous. So the next time it appears, your brain reacts faster, stronger, more aggressively. It sends the signal earlier, it increases the intensity sooner, it keeps you in that state for longer. Not because something is wrong, but because you've unintentionally taught your brain that this feeling matters. And the more you try to fight it, the more attention you give it. The more attention you give it, the more your brain reinforces it. Until eventually, you're not just experiencing anxiety, you're reacting to the fear of feeling anxious itself. You start anticipating it before it even happens, avoiding situations, overthinking small things, trying to stay in control at all times. And now, it's no longer just a response, it becomes something that follows you. Not because it's permanent, but because the way you're responding to it is keeping it alive. Part 4. The shift. The way out of anxiety isn't what most people think. It's not about trying to calm yourself down, it's not about getting rid of the feeling, and it's not about controlling your thoughts. Because everything you've been doing up to this point, trying to fix it, trying to stop it, trying to escape it, is exactly what's been keeping it going. The shift happens when you stop treating the feeling like a problem, because the moment you stop reacting to it, your brain no longer receives the signal that something is wrong. And if your brain doesn't think something is wrong, it has no reason to keep sounding the alarm. But this doesn't happen instantly. At first, it feels uncomfortable because you're doing the opposite of what your instincts are telling you to do. Your brain wants certainty, it wants control, it wants resolution, and instead, you're allowing the feeling to exist without trying to change it. You're noticing it without analyzing it, experiencing it without resisting it. And that changes everything, because when you stop feeding the reaction, the intensity begins to drop, not because you forced it to, but because there's nothing left reinforcing it. Your body starts to settle, your thoughts begin to slow down, and the feeling loses the meaning it once had. It becomes just a sensation, not a signal of danger. And the more you do this, the more your brain starts to relearn something new, that this feeling isn't a threat. Part 5. The choice. At this point, nothing about your anxiety has actually changed. The thoughts can still appear, the feeling can still rise, your body can still react. But what has changed is how you understand it, and that changes everything. Because now, when the feeling shows up, it doesn't have to mean something is wrong. It doesn't have to be a problem you need to solve, or something you need to escape from. It becomes something you can experience without reacting to. And in that moment, you're faced with a choice. Not a big dramatic decision, but a small, almost unnoticeable one. The choice to follow the same reaction, or to do something different. Because every time you react the same way, analyzing it, fighting it, trying to control it, you reinforce the cycle. But every time you choose not to react, even slightly, even imperfectly, you weaken it. And this isn't about doing it perfectly. It's not about never feeling anxious again. It's about what you do in the moment it happens. Because that moment is where everything is decided. Not in your plans, not in your intentions, but in your response. The more you choose to let the feeling exist without trying to fix it, the more your brain starts to understand that there is no danger. And slowly, over time, the signal becomes weaker. Not because you forced it to stop, but because there's no longer anything telling it to continue. And eventually, what once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable. Not because the feeling disappeared, but because it lost its meaning. And when it loses its meaning, it loses its power. And that's when you realize you were never stuck. You were just responding in a way that kept you there. And once that changes, everything else follows. So the next time you feel anxious and your mind starts racing and your body reacts like something is wrong, remember this: nothing is actually wrong. This is just your brain trying to protect you. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can follow the same reaction, or you can do something different. Because that moment is where everything begins to change. And if this made you see things differently, this is just the beginning.